I'd like to call a meeting order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We need a motion to adopt the agenda and the consent agenda as an order of business.
I make the motion to adopt the consent agenda.
And I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, we also need a motion for the following. Approve the minutes of December 17th, 2017 Board of Education meeting. Approve the financial report for the period of July 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2017. Approve the bills for the period of December 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2017 in the amount of $2,145,461.08.
So second.
Okay, is there any discussion on this? All those in favor? Aye. Legislative update. Carrie, please.
Yep, I actually have two main things. We did have our legislative breakfast yesterday, and probably the most critical issue that we discussed is the proposed legislation that's out there right now with our governor and Nygren. And what they have done is they've come, the Assembly and the governor have come together, and they are re-proposing a sparsity aid amount that they want to add to the budget for schools that qualify for sparsity aid. But with that, also possibly pulling back the low revenue bump that we looked at earlier this year before the governor vetoed it. So together, Nygren and Governor Walker, they did have a conference and talked to everybody about the fact that they worked together to be able to come up with this resolution to bring forward. And right now what has to happen is it has to go to the Senate. The Senate has to sign on. It'll have to go to the Assembly and pass. The governor would have to not veto it, and it would probably have to go to the Joint Finance because it's financial also. Talking at our legislative breakfast on Monday, there's probably, some positive thought that this might pass, but there's also the question as to whether or not the Senate's going to pass it. So right now, I don't want to get too optimistic. I felt like we probably were in the last time around, and we fell back on it. But at this point in time, I want you to know that it has rejuvenated itself, and it is coming forward. And so we're keeping an eye on it and do our best to be able to talk with our legislators. I do want to say just once again that Tyler Borpagel, Terry Katzma, Devin Lamahue, they have been amazing to support us through this. In fact, Tyler has been calling me and updating me on it, and Devin has been working just as hard. And on that front, the second thing that I do want to say is that those three have also worked very hard to get Representative Kitchens, who is part of he co-chairs the Blue Ribbon Committee, which is the committee on fair school funding, and he will be attending our next legislative breakfast. So, it'll be really nice to be able to have a conversation with him about what's going on in that particular committee and giving our feedback in this area because, he represents the area, Door County and up. So it's wonderful that he's coming down and he's going to listen to our group. So that's where we're at with a lot of the legislative issues that are going on. There isn't a lot of time for legislators to work right now. They're getting ready to end their sessions, but they did say that by the end of February we should know how some of these things are going to come up. So, yeah.
Is there anything we can do to move along what we want?
You certainly can contact senators and let them know that this is important, but I'm going to tell you that Devin is on it. He's there, I think. He believes and he supports us, but I don't think it hurts to make sure that people know that this is important to Plymouth. So, yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Carrie.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm ever optimistic. Like my old German teacher once said, "Ich bin ein Optimist."
Whoa, that's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So I am very optimistic on it.
right. And Tim, I do want to say that what we're seeing coming through the legislative process is it resembles a lot of what we created here, right in our own board. So, so thanks for that leadership.
Okay, moving on. One book. One book and many families. Carrie?
Yeah, we have one book, many families, and one community. And we have some wonderful staff members here that are coming. And Dina Bedrecki is going to introduce them and talk a little bit about this. But this is a project that has been happening at Horizon Elementary School. And it is a result of an application to the Plymouth Education Foundation and a grant that was received by Horizon Elementary School. So, Dina.
Good evening, everyone. Actually, I'm going to hand it off to Kate Beck, who is the teacher at Horizon, and she's going to take over the discussion.
All right, so we're here representing the One Book, Many Families, One Community book read that we did during the fall of this school year. So from Horizon, we had Judy Wolfel, 2nd grade, Jackie Murphy, 3rd grade, Caitlin Beck, 2nd grade, Lisa Krasaniak, reading specialist, Lori Brown, 3rd grade, and then Dina, the principal. So it all kind of started, we attended the WSRA, the State Reading Conference, right about this time last year, and some of us attended a session where they did this book read at the middle school level. And then out of that session came some ideas, well, how can we do that at the elementary level? And that's kind of how it all began. And the main focus the whole time was community. So that included Horizon Elementary, Parkview and Fairview Elementary, all of the parochial schools. I think we had 1 or 2 homeschool families, and then Kim Niesing, the children's librarian at the Plymouth Public Library. So they were all part of our team, and this is just a few of us here tonight to talk to you about it.
So we were at a conference, the reading conference last February. Lori Brown and I ended up in the same sectional. We had no idea we were both going to be there. Lori was in one part of the room and I was in the other. And it was 2 middle school teachers presenting on a book club they had done at the middle school level and how successful it was to engage children in reading, empower parents to read, and how it was such a successful event. And the sectional finished, and I catch Lori's eye, and we're walking out, and I said to her, boy, this would be really nice if we could do this at Horizon. And she was thinking, well, we could do this for the community. And I thought, well, the community, that's great, but how are we going to fund this? And Lori said, we'll write a grant. And just like that little spark, we kind of bounced ideas of what could we do and how could this happen. And so we just started talking about what would it look like.
We also thought about the adult book community read that happens right here in Plymouth and how that's been around for a couple of years, and how nice would it be to offer something of that caliber to families in addition to adults in the community. So we started to kick around ideas, and what started out as a small, let's do this at Horizon School, grew very quickly into how can we make this happen for all of Plymouth. So it's been fun.
So funding was definitely something that we needed to find, and we're really fortunate to have the wonderful Plymouth Education Foundation that for the past 2 years has had grants that community members can write and receive funding. So the group got together, collaborated, and put together the application and handed it in and patiently waited, and we found out early in the spring last year that we were recipients of one of the grants.
And our main goal throughout the whole thing was to encourage the love for reading and have that family read at home throughout all different kinds of families in Plymouth to build that community.
Our project connects to these pillars. So the next slide is going to show you, we're going to speak to the connections to the district pillars. The main focus overall has always been community, keeping the entire community involved, not only at the elementary level with the private and the homeschool and parochial schools, but also the people we included on the committee evolved into Kim Niesing because we would need that resource for the children's library. The event locations were very intentional. We did not want any of these events to be held in a public school building. We wanted to really show that it was an outreach, it was a community-owned event. And so we reached out to Jennifer Generations, who was willing to have us come to their location. Kim Niesing was part of our board. She was willing to let us be a part of the library and utilize the library. One of the neat things that came from being at those locations was there were people in the buildings at those times that were not affiliated with the school, didn't have kids in school anymore, but saw what we were doing and asked us questions when we were there. So it was neat to have that connection. All of the community collaboration you see, we intentionally went to book heads to purchase the books for us. Every family from the grant money received their own copy of the book that they chose to follow in the book groups. Sargento donated, UWGB donated. All of these things came from the community. Walmart gave us a donation so we could fund this. So it really was a nice event. And then you see the Spanish Club. You're going to hear more about the Spanish students and what they did too for our book club. So it was neat.
We wanted this project to be more than a public school project, and that's why I asked to join the group, because I had been working with the parochial schools. I was the reading teacher going into those buildings, and so I knew them. So last spring, I met with Jay Lindsay over at SJL and Amy Nelson over at SJB and brought them up to speed, told them about this crazy idea that these crazy Horizon teachers had, and said, we would welcome you. We want this to be more than, like I said, a public school project. We want this to be a Plymouth school project, a Plymouth community project where all of the children in Plymouth are included, not just the public school kids, but the parochial schools also. So it was really exciting to know that they were meeting with their staffs then and getting their staff members on board at that time too.
The academic pillar, I think, speaks for itself in that we're talking about reading. But each night that we met with our families, we weren't sitting holding reading class, if you will. What we were really all about was developing a passion and a love for reading and nurturing families reading together and increasing reading in the family unit so that it doesn't become something that's only electronic, something that is so, trendy, if you will. So it's just about ingraining a passion and a love for reading and building lifelong readers. And so we did supply families with strategies that they needed to help their kids get through the novel. And in doing so, it gave them, for example, questioning stems that allowed them to ask meaty questions of the kids and encouraged all different kinds of thinking as they read and discussed the books together. You'll see a little bit more about our resource packets later, but we tried to equip parents for successful experiences with their kids at home while they had fun reading stories.
Obviously, the extracurricular, it was outside of the school day. Creating that support, like Lori was saying, to help parents look at reading in a different way than maybe they do usually. Obviously, that community building, doing that outside of our school day in different places in the community. And that family connection, that first night at Generations, people kind of stood around for a while, and then all of a sudden they realized they knew somebody from another school, and all of a sudden it was a community of readers. It was pretty cool to see.
So now we'll talk you through the overview of the process. This group, once we found out we were awarded the grant, hit the ground running. This has been a project that we worked on the minute the schools left and were dismissed in June. This group started already planning for our first event in October. There was a lot of thought that went into this. The initial intent was choose a book that would appeal to K-4 readers, so kind of aim for the middle. And as we talked, we realized that really wasn't going to fit the bill for the amount of kids that we were including that could possibly want to do this. In addition to that, Lori was thinking about how every year Sheboygan has this Children's Book Festival, and how can we incorporate that? Authors come to our area. Could we maybe find out who's going to be there, find some books that we like that would be appropriate for our kids to read? And that's exactly what we did. We ended up with 4 books based from 2 different authors that were coming to the festival. So ABC Pasta was a kindergarten-based book. Juana and Lucas is like a first, second grade book, both by an author named Juana Medina. And then Clementine was a second through 4th grade book. Pax was a higher reading kind of book, both by Sarah Pennypacker. So those are the books we chose. We have them here. And then from there, parents could choose which book they wanted to do with their family. And then all of us who were part of this were part of a book group then that we featured one of the books.
So the first night that they came, they got a book and a folder. And in the folder, kind of like Lori was saying before, we provided them with some resources. So each group, a reading calendar was made so that they only had to read a few pages a night, and that way we thought you're reading every day, and it doesn't make the idea of reading a whole book in this amount of time so, scary. We're never gonna have time because we have this and this. So we broke it down what day it was and how many pages they would read that night. And then we just provided them with questions they could ask their children while reading to promote the comprehension. A bookmark that included all of our dates, and then just some different pages like character traits or the setting in the story that could enhance what they were reading. And they were all optional for parents, but we put them there in case they wanted to go beyond the book a little bit more. So each book kind of had a folder set up the same way.
And ours had some Spanish-English flashcards that kind of went along with the books. That was cool. Because we had some heavy-duty language going on in here. That's why we invited Court Raymaker to come and help us out a little bit, and that turned into kind of a cool thing. We asked him to come the very first night. What could he do? He brought his guitar. We learned some Spanish through singing, and then he kept connecting with Lori, and pretty soon he came to all three of our events, or he had his students come to our events. Very elaborate planning. I mean, all we had to do was kind of show up and facilitate with the kids, and it was great. So cool to watch them.
Yeah, I kept on giving because he'd call and he'd say, hey, I got this stuff. And I could bring these kids and I've got this stuff. What do you think? And of course, we're like, yeah, bring it. Yeah. Take it. So he was just a treat. He's awesome. And his kids were so good with children. They made it fun for the kids, and I think they themselves were having fun too.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
His kids being PHS Spanish speaking.
Yes, correct.
Obviously, we needed to get people there. That was our goal, and we did lots of different ways of marketing the project. So it started with each one of the sneak peeks in our school buildings, as well as the public or private school buildings, the public library. We had sign-ups and information tables so they could sign up and ask questions right away. We had the books displayed so they could page through them. We had a website that we put on every one of our little informational things that we sent out that people could go to and listen to the author read maybe a chapter of the book, very interactive, that allowed people to make informed decisions on the books that they wanted. We had flyers that went home in Friday folders more than once, and Jamie Pintelski also did an article on our district website as well to inform. And we had posters in all the buildings, so we really tried to make sure that we got the information out there to reach as many people as possible to get involved.
When it came time to determining meeting dates, this date was particularly intentional for us. October 12th was the date before the Children's Book Festival was to occur. So we wanted to hook our readers early into the books they were reading and plug this event as well in the community. So we had our kickoff date on October 12th, which was really the grand opening of it was amazing for us to be there and to actually see what we had worked so hard and envision how it would look to actually come to life with people coming in generations and more people that we didn't know than we did. That's when I think we kind of felt we did it. We've reached out because there's people here we don't know, to see that community connection go on in that little bit of time. So it was everybody came, we got them into their groups, we gave them the resources they needed, we met them, and did a really small icebreaker activity within our own little book clubs that night.
And we passed out our books to all of the groups at that time, so every single family received their book that night, or if they weren't able to attend, we made sure that those books
went to whichever school they needed to go to.
All of those schools got delivered to all of those schools for all of those families to get those books.
I think we need to thank Dina for her technology expertise in making sure that people, when they signed up, we knew their website or their email and where they went to school and all those kinds of things. We had a lot of demographics to help us with those, getting the books where they needed to be.
To get all that information out. Our first meeting date was on that October 12th, and then we met again just a few weeks later on November 2nd. And again, very intentional. We wanted to meet in a community location, so we met at the public library. Along Kim Niesing, the children's librarian there, helped us put that together and coordinated that with us. We had our 4 different book groups meeting in 4 different areas of the library. It was great. We were able to, not only get people into the public library again, because, sometimes it's a kind of an underused public resource that we have. So another opportunity to get people into our library. The Spanish students and Court were there again with us. We had a STEAM activity going on with one of our books, with the PAX story. So lots of different things occurring.
Our final evening, we did meet at Riverview Middle School, and the beauty in that was that we used the cafeteria and the foyer out in front of the cafeteria, and we really found out that being in close proximity of all 4 different book groups was kind of electric, and it sort of motivated us all to culminate this thing together and feed off each other's energy. And it was a nice evening. We had a great turnout that night, and we noticed that some parents, there he is, Nick, who wasn't able to join us, really was thoughtful enough to send his child with another family. And it was just great setting and lots of culminating events.
We had raffles that night. Every book group created a kind of a theme-based raffle, and we gave that away inside of our little groups. And then we had some whole group raffles. We had some extra books. We gave those away. Some bags from Sargento.
We had our author, Lana Medina, is not only an author, but she's an illustrator. So we had packed little authors' swag bags and illustrators' swag bags just to send kids home with tools they needed to become little authors and illustrators.
And our grand prize was Kindle. And actually, Lorena McCarroll's granddaughter won that, which was pretty cool.
Lorena McCarroll, former employee.
Yeah, it was kind of neat.
Retired employee.
Yeah.
Quite excited.
I think one of the highlights for our students was the actual author visits. Not only were they reading books by really talented women, but these women came to our school as well. Now, it was housed at Horizon, but it was open to anyone who attended the book club, and we did have people coming from other buildings and other schools the day the authors came. It's nice to have published authors telling kids the same things we as teachers tell them when they read and write. There's just a little more belief for the kids when they can see someone who does this for a living. It was nice to hear the authors talk to them about the first time you write a draft, it's not your final copy, how long it takes them to write the book they were reading. How Juana Medina shared she had an ink blot on one of the pages she drew, and she had so much detail on her page. And instead of throwing the page away, she found a creative way to implement that ink blot into her picture. So it was really neat for the kids. The kids were very engaged, and the authors were both very open to having those kids come up with their books and get their books autographed. And it was the day after the launch of the book club, so it really set a good tone for success for this program.
So as we finished our 3 meetings within the next 2 weeks, we met just as a committee to reflect on how we did, our successes, our struggles, our challenges, and I guess we really felt like as a community we brought together our schools. And how often do we do that with our parochial schools? That was pretty cool. We had a homeschool family joining us because we had reached out and tried to do some networking to bring them in.
Talking about that, we also had a group of parochial school teachers from SchBd who joined us in our meeting and our planning and rolling out the whole project too. So not only did we have some of those families doing our project, we had the teachers joining us too. So, sorry.
Right? Oh, I'm glad you said that because I saw one of them at the Walmart, and they were already in for future endeavors, so we're excited about that. They had fun. We did do some surveying of the families that participated, and one of our goals was to increase or at least maintain reading time in the family structure, and we found out that statistically there was an increase in the amount of minutes families were reading, and they were reading as families. We felt good about getting a quality book into the hands of families, and we did accomplish that by making sure we had enough books for all of our participants. And then it was was kind of cool because at school, then kids were in the class saying, I know I'm not in the Clementine book group, but do you have an extra book? Could I read one? And then you go into the library and you show them, here they all are. Guess what? It's a series. We've got all kinds. Get at it. And so it was really fun to be able to see not only the children that participated, but others pick up some of the books that we had offered just because of the interest that we believe we generated. It was fun.
So with any reflection, we wanted to be honest with ourselves, and we had a few things that we thought, okay, we could maybe improve upon. Many of them were very technical in that we met on our meetings were always on Thursdays, and families are busy, and if they had a pre-planned activity on Thursday nights, we wanted to make sure that in future we would rotate the nights to make sure that everybody would have an opportunity. The length of the book and the amount of time with the PAX book, it was a little bit tedious for some families, sending out meeting reminders. So, we wanted to make sure that we looked at all angles and how could we improve this for future endeavors if we went that way. And that is definitely something going forward as a group. We definitely have the passion and the excitement, and like the one book, the one community, the adult one, every year gets bigger and bigger. And that's something as a group we would really love to see if we could continue to grow and get more families involved. So it was a really great experience. And we just sort of ended, again, we surveyed all the families involved and shared some of those really positive feedback that we received. And, lots of people would love to do it again. They felt that it just really helped to bring their families together and have some really quality time, even though, even if it was 15 minutes at night, it just brought the families together and had some great conversations. And they appreciated the tie-in with the book festival. So we had some really lots of positive moments. Okay, any questions? Talked a lot.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Detailed.
I've got just a couple. So how many participants and how many families, how many kids?
We had 90 families sign up. 90 families sign up. So each night we did take, I don't have that with us, but we did take attendance. We counted each of our groups, and we had representation from each of the groups, each of the different nights. And it was interesting because a lot of times families would even email and say, I can't make it tonight. I have this going on. It's really just the promotion of loving to read it with your family. So yeah, 90 families total sign up.
And then I'm just curious on your presentation. Did you all put this together? Who came up with the framework for the presentation?
We did it as a group.
So I just want to tell you, hitting the pillars hit home here. So nice touch. Well done.
Well, I think the grant leads you to get there.
But I want you to know you have to pay for anything.
I was going to say, you didn't have to write any checks or anything, so you're good.
Part of the foundation grant is you have to include how you would integrate the district pillars. So we felt it was important to share that with the board.
Thank you for including that in our presentation. So it was well done. I guess the final thing, I'm on the foundation, so I'm going to talk about the foundation a little bit, but this is a great example of why that foundation is so important. And we've increased funding to $20,000 this year, so hopefully more groups like yours will come forward and look for additional funding. So thanks again.
Thank you. That's good to hear.
I don't know, what was the number?
Our group received $1,200.
$1,200?
Yeah, $1,200, and the majority of that all went to books.
Went to the books.
Did you have enough money to fund it with the other donations?
I think at the end, I think some of the individual groups paid for some of our own little raffles to give out, but that was something that everybody was comfortable and happy to do. But yeah, majority of it went to the books and a little bit of the raffles.
We also had a donation from Walmart for $60, and we wanted to give away that Kindle at the end, and that helped us make that work.
Well, I think it's great you got the books from downtown.
Absolutely.
Which kept that in the community as well. That's great.
And she really worked so nicely with us.
I'm sure she's excited to have this, any kind of promotion of reading and books down in the shop is a good thing.
Very nice job.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the hard work.
Now, on item 7, we need to approve the 2018-2019 school year calendar. Mr. Mella.
Yes, we've been showing examples of this for the last 2 months and getting feedback from you, from the board, as well as from the community and from the private schools and from our superintendent council and all over the place. So in the end, we have the same calendar that we showed you the last time, and with just going through it over and over again, trying to make sure we don't have mistakes and those types of things. And we think it's pretty clear, knocking on wood. And so next year, the first day of school would be the 4th of September. The last day of school would be the 11th of June. We have a spring break that is typically, and again this year, the last full week of March. We have a Christmas break, obviously, the same time. One difference is that we no longer have the last Friday, I guess it would be the last Friday in October as a conference compensation day. We will have the Friday before the deer hunting season, which is typically a day of poor attendance in the district for students being missing. And so, seeing as the federal government has put a stipulation about that needs to be on the report card in every state, for attendance purposes, that would be a day that we could eliminate some of our attendance issues that we have, because students will be missing on that day again. So that is about all the differences, and you've seen it before, so if there aren't any questions, this would be some time to approve it for 18-19.
I move that we approve the calendar.
So is there any more discussion on this? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Dan. Designation of available spaces for regular and special education enrollment.
Yep.
Carrie.
We went over this at the committee of the whole meeting. According to our Wisconsin statutes under Act 114, the board education policy 5113, the school boards must determine the number of regular and special education spaces available for open enrollment at their January board meeting. And you'll find in your packet the administration's recommendation, and we recommend that you approve the open enrollment spaces as presented by the administration.
So we need a motion.
Move that we approve the open enrollment presented by the administration.
So do you have any discussion on this?
No, I think we did it.
Okay. There you go. All those in favor?
I need a second. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did.
Phil,
I thought. Okay.
I'll speak up next time.
Yeah, I saw Phil. Anyways, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, and moving on. Finance and Building and Grounds.
The facility subcommittee, we did meet, and the main, I think the main purpose of the meeting was simply to go over preparation for the referendum and the communication that needs to get out to the community. So we determined a number of pieces that will be presented through mailings as well as postings throughout the community, different locations and different groups that the committee will present to provide as much information to the community about the referendum and what our needs are from the facility study. So that was the thrust of the meeting, and really not much more to report on than that.
Okay. Now we need to consider gifts and corresponding budgets, right?
Yep, we have one gift tonight. We have a donation of $20 from Blair Siebert for the Plymouth High School swim team and the Plymouth High School band department. So I do recommend that we accept Blair's gift and the corresponding budget adjustment. And I want to say thank you to Blair. She is an old Horizon student that I remember very well.
So
I make a motion we accept that.
any discussion? All in favor? Aye. And thank you very much, yes. Policy. We need to approve the new policy.
Yep,
Go ahead.
We did put the policies again, we did discuss them at the community phone meeting, but the policies that we're approving are in the, are in your packet, and what we do need to do is we need to approve, first of all, the waiving of the reading, unless of course you want to read each one of them, and then we would have to approve the first reading. The second reading would be approved at the February board meeting.
Waive the reading of the policies.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. You need a motion for the approval of the first reading?
Make a motion to approve the first reading under the old policies.
Second.
So is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And moving on, personnel. Carrie?
Yeah.
Number 11.
Public participation, which we have none of it.
Yeah, it's,
Oh,
Here you go. Here you go.
yeah, public participation. Nobody signed up that I know of, so we're moving on. Board liaison reports. Community Ed, Sally.
We did not meet last month, but we will be meeting next week, 2 weeks from now. At Community Ed, there's still stuff going on, even though we're not meeting, because they are still working every day. The play groups for the little ones are every Friday through April 27th at the Youth Center. Is it called the Youth Center? Yeah. Okay. There's been so many different names in the 30-some years I've lived here. Down by Riverview. Call Community Ed if you'd like to take your little one there to have them play and meet other parents. Thursday this week is a movie right here at the high school at 6:30. If you'd like to come, you can show up, but they prefer that you call, just in case there's a snowstorm or something, that they can contact you to let you know if it's canceled. There are child swim lessons going on from January 20th through March 17th. Adults, there's woodworking classes that you can take. There's a class that is called From the Garden, Infused Oils and Lotions, on February 5th. Mural Masterpieces. This is for students in school, 2nd grade through 6th. They will be meeting every week at Fairview. You do not have to attend Fairview. It can be at any of the schools, but go to it after school. And that will be from February 6th through March 20th. And if you did not know, LTC actually holds classes here at the high school through Community Ed. They do Excel programs. They're going to be doing beekeeping, landscaping, gardening. And if you've not been on our website, go take a look at the new calendar that they have also. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Bob.
Foundation. Well, we did have our annual meeting and welcomed our new members. But I guess the big news really is the grants. We are looking for more applications, and as I mentioned earlier, we've increased funding for grants this year from $10,000 last year. It's now $20,000 in total funding that we'll offer out. And if that wasn't a fantastic example of why this grant program is so important, and I would just encourage more staff and community members to come forward if they have ideas to help enhance the learning environment in our school system and in our community. So that's the best story I can tell. So that's all we have.
Thank you, Bob. Family Resource Center, Jamie?
Okay, a few things that are ongoing at the Family Resource Center. The parenting classes, the Little Learners Play Group, first and third Wednesday from 10 to 11. Little Movers is the second Wednesday, 10 to 11. That's for 2.5 to 4-year-olds. Something new that happens only periodically, they're doing Developmental Screening Day. And there are 3 different times that you can go. January 24th from 8 till 12, and that's at the Lakeshore Community Health Care in Sheboygan at 721 Seaman Avenue in Sheboygan. And then at Generations, they have 2 different dates and times. February 1st will be from 3 until 6, and February 2nd from 8 until 12. What those consist of is basically, for those of you that have small children, if you want to see if your child's development is on track, they'll assess their language, problem solving, fine and large motor skills, and also some social skill assessments. And for those that are age appropriate, vision and hearing tests will also be included. And those are free of charge, so please feel free to take advantage of that. Also, the Literacy Council is going to be having a Scrabble fundraiser. That's February 3rd. They don't have a lot of details on that yet, but check the website to find out details on that. And also, one other thing for the children, they're going to have a Sweets for My SchBd program, which is going to be on February 5th in the evening from 5:30 to 6:30. Children 2 years old and older, along with an adult, you can go and make Valentine treats with your parent as gifts. It's $4 per child, and they would like you to pay by the 29th of January. If you're interested in any of these or have questions, please call the phone number 920-892-6706, or you can go to familyresourcesheboygan.org, or you can stop in, and they're open Monday through Thursday from 9 until 1. So they're there to help, and a lot of wonderful programs going on. That's all I have.
Thank you. Professional Development Council, Richard.
I was able to participate in the meeting they had last week, and the content of what they're doing to develop their skills is certainly interesting. At the middle school, Lori Brown will be presenting on engagement, and at the elementary schools, they're working on literacy goals, and at the high school level, some ACT stuff and literacy and curriculum, and that's interesting, and I understand some of what they're talking about. But how it happens is what I get fascinated by, that in our district from our superintendent is advocating for this, and maybe others are saying, what do we have to do to fulfill the obligations? And we're going comparatively way over the top, but really it's what should be in all places. And then, Dan, this is kind of his forte, and then you got the council, 6 administrators were there and 6 teachers and their teamwork, and they're concerned about how can we provide some stuff for the support staff. So it's top to bottom in our district, and to see, I asked a few of the teachers how this happens in other places, and I said, well, administration, maybe a few department heads, but you've got it, on this council, you've got teachers who are, it's ground floor to the top, and that's just really exciting to me to see that it permeates through our whole system here, and you've got all levels of staff is engaged in it. So we got great stuff happening in professional development here, and so that's my report.
Thank you, Richard. Personnel now. Go ahead.
Yep, tonight we just have one that we need to approve, and that is the resignation of Justin Lloyd. Justin Lloyd is the STEM/Project Lead the Way teacher at Riverview Middle School, and his resignation is to be effective January 19th, 2018. Justin served the district for 4.5 years, and he is moving to a district that is in his hometown. So I would recommend that we approve his resignation. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, we didn't take anything. Oh yeah, support staff.
For support staff, we have two. Kay Magnus has been hired as a special education aide at Plymouth High School, and Joanne Dvorak has been hired as a server at the Riverview Middle School.
Okay. Then we'll go on to travel.
Yep, we have one travel request tonight. We actually need to consider out-of-state travel request from Bo Biller, automotive teacher at Plymouth High School, to take students to the Universal Technical Institute in Lisle, Illinois, to compete in the Top Tech Challenge on February 15th, 2018. The request is consistent with board policy, and the expenses will be paid for by the Tech Club.
Is that an entire weekend, or is that just a one-day?
I think it's just one day.
Yeah, but because it's out of state, we still have to approve it, just like the German shopping trip that we did.
And how many students are going? You know, just curious.
I'm assuming it's his tech class, so probably about 20.
Oh, okay.
It's a smaller group. They have to be selected. It's competitive. So there's typically some upperclassmen that are there competing for tools and scholarships, and then Bo tries to take some underclassmen along so they can kind of observe and see what the possibilities are for the next year. So I think it's under 10.
So they actually win some tools, like hand tools?
They could. If they do written tests, and then they do some hands-on automotive testing. They also get a tour of the campus. So there's definitely some college preps and post-secondary prep there as well.
Did we need a motion to approve?
Yeah, we do.
Yes. Oh, I make that motion.
I second that motion.
And we've had the discussion.
The motion is very appropriate before discussion. So
Motion, emotion,
we have to follow the rules here. Seeing how we had a discussion, is there any more questions?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Nobody was up on the consent agenda. And the President's report, I just want to wish that people would contact their senator and their assembly person and thank them for their efforts and the work they've done to help us on the low spending districts. And also, I'd also like to thank Governor Walker for being willing to compromise on these things. It's a sign of leadership if you compromise in a republic. So that's the end of the President's report. It's a good report.
One point of order that I just want to call is that the minutes from December, it should say December 19th, not December 17th on so I don't know, John, do we need to reapprove that? Okay.
I so noted.
Okay. And for the superintendent report, I have a few things that I would like to talk about tonight. First of all, we are halfway through our athletic teams with the winter season, so there aren't a lot of awards or anything that I can tell you about, but I look forward to those coming up very soon in February or in March. I do want to congratulate Bryce Lodwig, a PHS senior. And Bryce was nominated for the National High School Spirit of Sport Award, sponsored by the National Federation of High Schools. And he is nominated as an individual who has overcome adversity in challenging situations. Bryce has fought many obstacles and persevered through many surgeries throughout his life. And this fall, he became a starter on our varsity football team. There will be an article in the paper featuring Bryce very soon. And Bryce was also selected by WIAA to be the Wisconsin nominee, and he will move on to the national level for this award. So it's pretty impressive. And I do want to congratulate Bryce and just let him know that we are so proud that he represents Plymouth School District. Pretty amazing kid. Also, I want to give a shout out to Kelly Luganjic and Brad May, 6th grade teachers at Riverview. And this is a situation here Kelly is 5th and Brad is 6th. And this is a situation too where thank you to the Plymouth Education Foundation, but they also applied for a foundation grant and have been able to enhance personal learning in the classroom with laptops that they received from the grant. The goal that they have is to create flipped classrooms so that they can assist with personalized learning of students at every level and foster a flexible learning environment. There was an article about this project on our website, and I would encourage you all to go on and see it because it's pretty amazing. And again, another Plymouth Education Foundation grant that Kelly and Brad took the initiative to write. And I have two things, actually. I'm going to show one for sure, but I wanted to show a picture up here because this is a pretty amazing thing that I'm thinking we would be excited about. But right here, I know that this just looks like yarn to most people, but this yarn is very special yarn. Actually, this yarn was spun with sheep's wool from the Wade House, and because of our partnership that we have with the Wade House, our students in the Food Science and Agriculture Center were able to grow the plants and help seed the plants at the Wade House and in our Food Science and Ag Center, and they use the petals from our plants to be able to dye the sheep's wool out at the Wade House. So I want to congratulate Tracy Heimbrock on her project here, and John Rogers from the Chamber and also from the Wade House who coordinated this with Kathy Dimmick. So pretty amazing, I believe. Yes, and then finally, and it's a little bit of a long video, so I'm not sure we can show it tonight. It's about a minute or so, yes?
About 4.
About 4 minutes. Okay, I won't show it then. But I want to congratulate Julie Coleman. She is a teacher at Parkview Elementary School, and the video is pretty impressive. But what she did today was she set up a morning where a father that has been in the military for, I believe, over a year now, had come home, and he came into the school to see his son for the first time. And it is a pretty amazing, touching video that you can see, but the whole school, Mr. Mather, John Mather, coordinated it as Julie did, but you helped.
She just asked permission.
Right. and as the I think it's Ethan Fellner. As they left with his son, the whole staff clapped for them on their way out. But it's just a pretty amazing thing, and I just think that there we go again. You know, our teachers just doing what it takes to help out our community, our students, and just going that extra length. So you'll see it on Facebook. It's out there. I've seen it about 5 times now. So
what grade is the student in?
3rd grade.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I want to thank Julie for that and setting that up. And then finally, thank you again to all the Horizon teachers who came tonight and showed what we can do to just make the school district better and the community a better place. So there we go.
Could we also put the video up on our web?
Yeah, I think Jamie has it on our Facebook page, because I did see Jamie running around there in the video that was taken on the school site. So.
Do you have it on our web?
It's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook. Okay.
All right. No, we can put it on our webpage too for a little bit. You know, it was one of our things. So, all right. Dates to remember: January 26th. This month is a Professional Development Day. No school. February 12th is the Committee of the Whole meeting at 5 p.m. in the boardroom. February 16th is another Professional Development Day, no school. February 19th is our legislative breakfast, and February 20th is the Board of Education meeting at 7 p.m. here back in the amphitheater. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And we'll need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?